Hey, everyone. This is Troy Eckard, Talk with the Texan, Money and Life. It's been a while since I've done a podcast. It's been a while since I've given you any feedback on what's going on in the world of money, life, and the way we take on that opportunity. You know, everybody has a situation in their life in which it may be an altering event: age, health, death, occupation, geography. The one thing I know over 41 years of being in the investment community and dealing with literally thousands upon thousands of successful entrepreneurs and high net worth and high income clients and partners and friends is you get a chance to have a real life experience and a real life education and really better knowledge because you're on the ground floor, on the front line of what it takes to be successful, the personality traits, the ups, the downs, the potholes, the victories, the wins, the trophies, the losses. You really have a great opportunity to understand what takes place when it comes to the more affluent people in the world. You know, I go to the bookstore and I'll see hundreds of books on the shelf, and everybody's an author and everybody's got a great idea, and they all have great ideas when it comes to what it takes to be successful. And they're going to spend 20, 30, 50 bucks on a book to ask somebody or read a book that they're going to tell us how to be successful, how to have anger management, how to build a business, the 5X, the 10X, the 2X. You know, 2X is okay. 5X is better. 10X is better. I'll pay more for a book that says 10X. But one thing you got to know about Talk with the Texan, Money and Life, Troy W. Eckard, I'm about as blunt as you're going to get. I try to be respectful. I try to curtail and monitor what I say. And I got to tell you, as I've gotten older, that carefulness has kind of gone away a little bit. I still am very thoughtful about who the audience is. I'm still very thoughtful about what I'm talking about. I'm very conscious today in today's environments, trying not to offend anybody. At the same time, that carefulness and that trajectory and that outward social expectation of who we are, I believe, is causing massive mental and social discourse, and is causing financial disruption like I haven't seen in 40 years since I started. You know, Talk with the Texan, Money and Life. Every time I try to talk about money, it always comes back to kind of more life. I kind of review some of my previous podcasts, my previous commentary. I go, I don't talk about money near as much as I do about the social events and the aspects of being somebody who makes money, has money, and is in that position of being what's considered maybe the top income earners or high net worth investors in the country. I got news for you. The last statistic I pulled up said 22 millionaires in the United States, with 1,000 new millionaires being born every day. I'd also suggest there's 1,000 new millionaires who are being broken every day, that are losing their net worth, depending on what assets and what time of the market is. Money doesn't impress me. Don't care if you're the richest guy in the world sitting across from me. I don't care if you're a guy that makes $8 an hour. Money does not impress me. I've been around it my whole life. From a guy who started his career with $5 in his pocket, a pair of old jeans and a shirt, and about an 8-year-old pickup truck arriving in Dallas, Texas in 1985. I didn't even have enough money to get rent. But I was 20 years old, and what I knew is hard work, using the talents and the gifts that God gave me, the brains I have, the work ethic I have, the street savviness that I had. I knew no matter what I did, I was going to be successful. I knew that. I had it in my brain. Well, that's a God-given talent in itself, to have the confidence and have the belief in yourself. That's one God-given talent. The second talent is humility. The humility to know what you don't know. The humility to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. The humility to know that maybe you get a faster start than everybody else around you, from your high school, your college, your fraternity, your sorority, to know maybe your career took off faster than everybody else. Maybe as life goes along, the slowest horse in the race with your social circle turns out to be the most successful person, but it took them 10 or 15 or 20 years to get there. See, here's the key. The key is we're not in a race. One thing you know about Talk with the Texan, Money and Life, I'll be 62 this year, and I get to look back and I get to go, what is all that I've seen and learned on a 40 plus year career? Hanging around all these successful, wealthy people. I'm talking wealthy people that have a lot of money and they come in all sizes, shapes, and forms. I'm talking super rich, 40, 50, $100 million, and they wear the same clothes 3 days in a row, and they take food and napkins and sweet off the table, put in their pockets. They want to pick up some stuff that's free. We have some that are barely qualified, meaning they have the lowest net worth, and they walk around like the biggest cock on the block. They look like the rooster that's got his feathers up, and he's the biggest guy on the block, knowing that one missed paycheck, one missed revenue run, one missed opportunity in his business, and he's no longer wealthy. He's now trying to figure out how to keep his company afloat. So I've seen it all different lives and forms and spectrums, right? When I think about the content of this particular discussion today, I want to say it this way. It is really about knowing what your final goal and objective is. Now you say, well, man, I'm 30, I'm 35, I'm 45. I have no idea what my final goal is. Well, I'm going to challenge you, because if you don't know where the end is, and you don't know where the beginning is, and you don't know what to do in the middle. And it may be a goal, it may be a finish line that you create today, and you might move that finish line for various reasons. But why do you need a goal? Because I'm going to tell you, this is from me, my personal experience. How do you know when you finally reach the point where you no longer have FOMO, fear of missing out? How do you know you reached the goal in your life where you feel like in all your comfort, you can sit down in your chair and say, I have done all I need to do? And I'm not talking just money. I'm not talking career. I'm not talking about financial. I'm saying, when do you sit down and say to yourself, I need and want for nothing? That is probably the greatest level of success any one of us can have. I know individuals with 50, 100, $500 million, $1 billion, and they don't look happy. They look miserable. I know clients who make $4, $5, $10, $20 million a year, and they're miserable cusses. Now, they don't walk up and have a scowl on their face. They don't walk up and look like they're pissed at the world. They walk up the opposite. They walk up and look like they're not happy. See, there is a neutral point. It doesn't have to be a scowl on your face or smile with your teeth glowing. There can be what I call a neutral personality. The neutral personality is, I don't have an end game. I don't know what makes me happy. I don't know how much money makes me happy, because it never does, by the way. I don't know in my personal life, do I consider myself happy? What I do know is I'm not happy. I'm not a success for one of many thousands of reasons. Now, Troy, how do you know that? Talk with the Texan Money and Life. I mean, you're in a limited world. You're dealing with thousands of millionaires, but again, you're not the end all be all to all this great philosophy and information you give out on your show. I said, I know that. Hell, every day I talk to new persons, one more piece of information I didn't have the day before. So if I meet 100 people, that's 100 pieces of new information. But by the preponderance of what I've already done, by preponderance of all the thousands of millionaires I've talked to over the last 41 years, the conclusion and the information I'm giving you today is based on what I know today. And it's blunt and it's fair. I was in that same position, never knowing where the finish line was. I never knew if it was a dollar amount, it was an income, it was the number of assets I had. I didn't know if it was the life I had. I had no idea what the finish line looked like. And here's the tough part. Talk with the Texan Money and Life is trying to help you avoid some of the things that I've been through and the other thousands of millionaires I've observed have been through. The sooner you come to your own realization of what it takes to have peace in your life, the wealthier you become. The less mistakes you make, the happier you become, the less things that are not going right bother you. You eventually get to the point of saying, I am just satisfied with waking up every day in the condition I'm at, financially, physically, health, relationship-wise. I'm very, very satisfied where I'm at today. I hope for the best. I hope for growth. I hope for the things that I want. But if nothing changes in my life today, that's not a natural causation like deteriorating health, I have done all and seen all and been and done and all the accomplishments I wanted to do, I've done that. Now, what I've found is that usually doesn't occur till you're like in your late 60s, early 70s. I mean, I have millionaires still cranking at 85 and 90 years old. They think there's some kind of net worth goal they have to achieve. They think there's some kind of last investment, last dollar. They're trying to figure out how to get their estate transferred over to their kids. They're trying to figure out how to get less tax. I mean, they're working probably harder now that they're wealthier than they did when they were in their 30s starting their career. Why? They have more assets. They have more things, more decisions, more kids, more responsibility, more people tugging at their purse string. The truth is, sometimes my retired clients are working harder than the guys that have a job because they know their wick on their candle is getting very short. Their time on earth is getting shorter and shorter. I don't care if you're the richest guy in the world. You're going to die. You're going to take your last breath. I don't care whether you're 70, 80, or 100. You're going to die, and your term and time here on earth is going to be gone. So if that's true, if we all have a terminal point, then let's reverse. So let's say, I drill oil and gas wells for a living. So I'm used to drilling a dry hole every occasion. I don't do that much anymore. But let's say in the early part of my career, I drill a well going, the worst case is I lose every dime I put in it because it's a dry hole. So I kind of live my life that way. I say, what? So when somebody says, hey, let's do this, or let's go there, let's do this, I go, what's the worst case scenario? Well, we go fishing, the boat sinks, we lose our fishing rod, we don't have a license, we get a ticket, we don't take any fish home, and our truck's stolen while we're out in the water. So you think that's the worst that can happen today? Yep. All right, cool. Let's go fishing. Why? I mentally have visualized what my greatest downside is. If every one of you listening today realize your greatest downside is death, then what you have to say is, okay, if that's where we're all going to end up there, let's work backwards. Worst is going to happen to me, especially if I'm not a believer, but the worst is going to happen is I'm not here anymore. Okay, if that's true, then let's go backwards. Does anyone ever expect to have their net worth printed on their epitaph on their tombstone? Is there some kind of hall of records that says the richest person in the world is so-and-so? Now, we can talk about Rockefeller. We can talk about Elon Musk. We all kind of know who the richest people on the planet are with some degree of awareness. But that's not the majority. That's not like 99.9% of all the affluent people in the world. The most affluent people in the world, nobody's going to know who you are except for your immediate family, your employees, and those that are waiting for the will to be read. So knowing that death is the terminal end, let's go backwards. And I'm going to use me as an example. So I'm just going to focus on why I'm doing this particular topic today. It took me a long time to get to the point where I realized money was not making me happy. My career was not making me happy. Assets, houses, things, toys, cars, that was not making me happy. My happiness was not being received from the things and the material accolades and tangible items I had. The accolades I needed was from inside. I had to sit down and decide for myself what I wanted out of life, what I wanted out of me as a person, my personality, the way I carried myself, the way I treated my family, the way I treated my friends, the way I treated my employees. It was about me. And I had to finally say, I can only control what I can control. I can't control the stock market. I can't control oil price. I can't control clients and their decision to invest or not invest. There's 99.9% of things I cannot control. What I can control is what's between my two ears. I can control my thoughts. I can control my expectations. I can control my anxiety. I can control my happiness. So I decided 9 years ago, I was going to start working on the things I can control because I know the end result is one day I'm going to take my last breath. But if I can control and improve on what I do have control of, that gives me the greatest level of satisfaction. So I started doing that probably about almost 10 years ago, going on 10 years. Now, how this relates to you when it comes to money and life is it's directly tied to money and life. See, I don't focus on money. I can tell you how to go refinance your home. We can talk about buying flips. I can talk about oil and gas. We can talk about tax. We can talk about 1030. I can give you all, look, man, I've been doing this 40 years. I can give you all kinds of information on investments. It's worthless because it's never enough. It's like an insatiable appetite. No matter what you do today, this was a great investment. It made me 100% return on my money in a week. And I had 22% IRR on that one and this one and that one. I lost two, but this one over here made up for it. That's like standing around Vegas and asking somebody if they're winning or losing while they're out there on the casino floor. Well, it depends on what time you ask me, which hand I dealt, which roll of the dice. So for me, I decided I'm gonna tackle life a different way. I'm gonna get up in the morning and I'm gonna notice the very small things. I'm gonna notice what time the sun comes up. I'm gonna look out across the field or the grass or the yard. I'm gonna look at my dog outside and watch the way he's just enjoying life and taking in all those smells. And he wakes up, he has nothing on his mind but what's right in front of him right there. That is the most real observation I can have, is watching my favorite dog, Deuce, walk outside, stretch, and smell all the smells outside. And he's just, I'm alive. And today is going to be a great day. I don't have a 401k. I don't have people that are going to inherit money from me. I don't have employees. He just takes in the moment. And I said, I want to be like Deuce. I want to start taking in the moment that I'm in right then and there. And I started that about 9 years ago. And I started looking at the way I spent my time. I was pretty much up at 5:30, working till midnight every day, because I thought that's what drives me. That's what makes me happy. That wasn't true. What drives me, makes me happy, is that I'm making a better me, a better Troy. I'm a better boss. I'm a better owner. I'm a better manager. I'm a better dad, granddad. I'm a better brother. I'm a better husband. And it doesn't come easy, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's like a process. It's almost like being a master chef. Some part of what you cook takes time to evolve. It takes time to rise. It takes time to formulate. Well, in order for me to make a better life, I had to figure out why I was not having a better life. It's called a postmortem. I got to look at what I've done and why I'm not at that point of peace. Well, when I look back, it's because I had all these FOMO ideas. Well, I have a big car, but the other guy over here is an idiot and he has a bigger car. Well, if that idiot can have what he has, I can surely do better. Well, that guy has a company and I know he's not as ethical as I am. He's not doing the right job, but man, he sure looks like he's successful. And man, it just drives me crazy knowing that person, that individual has better things, nicer things. So it was almost like a earthly comparison, how people were running in the race. You ever been in a track meet, or you ever been in any kind of competition, somebody slightly beating you out and you're like, oh, I know I'm twice as fast. I know I got more stamina. I know I can be more tenacious. I know I'm a meaner football player. I know I'm a better tracker. I'm a better in gymnastics. I'm better at playing pool. We all analyze in our brain, comparing ourselves to those around us. That's a failed opportunity. It's a failed expectation of who we are in our own path in life. So when I look at me, I say, okay, and I do a lot of this. I do a lot of self-analysis. I go out and I fish in my pond. I got some great catfish. These catfish are 8-pound to 15-pound catfish. I've been raising for 3 years. Love to catch them, talk to them, and turn them right back around and put them back in the pond. It's just very, very relaxing for me. In fact, that's probably my favorite thing to do, is go to my pond, rig up some fishing gear, and I'm not good at it. I just done it over years, and put a line in the water and watch one of my catfish bite the bait. Put it back in the water and do it again. And I can sit out there for hours just watching the sun come up, the sun go down. Very tranquil, very peaceful. It's exactly what makes me happy. So I take that little experience and I put it in perspective. Doesn't cost me anything. It's free. Fish are free. They're surviving on their own. It's just one of those things where there's no competition. There's no realization. There's nothing tangible about it other than going through nature and what is making me happy for the day. I look at where I have been and where I'm at today, and I now have a very clear perspective. Again, this is not about net worth, not about assets, not about money, but you reach a point, you say, what would I do if I had to live today on either the job I have, the income I make, or the assets that I have? You couldn't make any more. Zero interest rate, zero return. You literally had to live on what you had today, like being on a deserted island. Today, all you get is what you have, and you got to survive. Well, I can assure you, every one of us, for the most part, are going to take a look at what we have today in terms of health and knowledge and expertise and assets and money and resources. We're going to go, I got to make some changes because tomorrow's not mine. I can't increase it. I don't get a yield. I don't get a CD certificate of deposit. I don't get return off cash flow off of wells. I only have this. Let's say you have $2.7 million. That's it. All right. Well, I think I'm going to live 25 years. So do I want it to last 25 years, or do I want to last 25 years on $1 million of the 2.7 million? I want to leave the 1.7 million to my kids because I want to leave them a legacy. That's your choice. You could buy you a travel trailer, move outside of town, live in a small RV park, and pay $150 a month for an RV spot, pay cash for the trailer. Your electricity bill's $35 a month, and you go to the discount food store, and you're probably surviving on $500 a month, $700 a month. You'll never eat up the $1 million. So you've accomplished your goal. The key is that's not so bad if you've reached a place of happiness, if you've reached a place of contentment. It's horrible if you want to live on $100,000 a year. You got 10 years to live on that $1 million, and then you're not going to give those kids that $1.7 million difference. You're going to have to dip into their money, or maybe you die before then. You're either hoping you die before you run out of money, or you dip into the kids' money. The relevant point I'm making is today you have a chance, listening to Talk with the Texan, Troy W. Eckard, Money and Life, to start thinking differently than you ever have. I don't need to build a bigger house. I don't need more money. I don't need a better job. I don't need more friends. I don't need 99% of more of anything. If I have somebody in my life that becomes a friend, that's a bonus. If I make more money doing something, that's a bonus. If I have more time that I'm awake, that's a bonus. If I have more time with my grandkids and my wife, that's a bonus. But I finally came to the conclusion, and I'm going to say this as carefully as I can, because in my mind, I have it completely figured how I'm going to say it. But I'm going to try to say this so it resonates with each one. I want you to listen. The greatest level of contentment I've ever had in my life was when I had nobody else that could judge me, measure me, or give me any critique. What? When you know you can look in the mirror and no one else's opinion matters. Not your wife, your husband, your mother, your father, your kids, your employees, your pastor. When you wake up and look in the mirror, and it can be at 45 or it could be at 85, and you say to yourself, I have run the right race. I've given it 100%. I'm happy as I've ever been today. And today is the first day of the rest of my life knowing that I'm happy just where I'm at today. And it only gets better, because as you find that spot in your life, as you find that contentment, the strawberries taste sweeter, the iced tea is colder, the air is fresher, the sun is brighter, your sleep is heavier, your friendships are more meaningful, and now you're living the life that I call moments and memories. When you get to that point where moments and memories are the single most important asset in your life, my friends, you have arrived. You have arrived at the greatest point as a human being you can get to. All that matters is what goes on between your own two ears. Moments and memories, and only the things that you can control. I've lived it. I've experienced it. I want you to think about it. Because I got to tell you, the level of happiness I have today, the level of satisfaction I have today, the level of contentment, the level of depth of the moments and the memories and the new moments and memories are being created daily. The euphoria and the excitement of that and the pleasure in that outweighs anything material, anything financial, anything earthly, because you can never take it away from me. I could lose every dime I have. You can never take away the moments and memories I have earned and I've lived through my entire life. If you want to live a life where you're not chasing a return, you're not chasing a paycheck, you're not chasing an investment, you're not trying to have a bigger boat, a bigger house, you're not trying to impress me. You can buy a bigger boat as you want if it's for you. You can buy as big a house as you want if it's for you. You can do an investment. It's because it's what you want to do. But when you get to the point of complete, full contentment with nothing more than the moments and memories you take out of every 24 hours, my friends, you have arrived. Welcome to Talk with the Texan, Money and Life. Troy W. Eckard. Thanks for listening.